Hey, thank you very much for that sub there, Gabby. I appreciate that. We will be getting started here in 1 second. Thank you for the love, turtle love. How you doing tonight? All right, I think we're ready to go. Hey, Pleco guy, how's it going? Thank you for stopping in. Thank you very much, Wolfram. I appreciate that. I think we are ready to get rolling here in just a second. One more thing. Thank you very much for that resub, Wolfram. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the love so far. All right, guys, let's get this thing rolling here. How's everybody doing tonight? It's going to be a little bit interesting episode here. So tonight we are going to be going over carp basics. I have a special guest in tonight. I believe we've got everything good to go, but we're going to find out on the go. It's been kind of a trick and a task to kind of get everything up and going. So we're going to see how everything turns out here. But so for the last couple of weeks, we've been going over basic beginner stuff, right? Just basic beginner. Kind of rules and regulations, the lakes that you can fish, kind of where to find the lakes you can fish, stuff like that. This week, we're going to kind of break down a little bit more into some detail on a specific type of fish. So we've got the big tournament coming up here real soon, like I believe it's going to be in May, first or second week in May. We're going to have the big tournament coming up for Twitch tournament. And I've been getting a lot of questions about carp, you know, how to catch carp, some of the basic rigs and setups to catch carp, stuff of that nature. So I wanted to go over carp tonight in a little more depth and detail. It's still going to be on a beginner type basis. We're still going to be going over just the basics on how to catch some carp, rigging, some rod and reels that you could use, stuff of that nature, just kind of some beginner baits and tactics. You know, I do a lot of carp fishing, and the guy that I'm going to have on tonight does a lot of carp fishing as well. And we've got a ton of advanced gear and stuff for carp fishing. So we will get into that eventually, but I just wanted to touch on the very, very basics tonight. And that's what we plan on doing. So if you guys give me just a second to get everything set up for this guy, we will bring him on. Yes, we have a special guest tonight, Beckrist. Chips are in the back. I will get you guys your chips here in just a few minutes. You know, I have the little snack size bags because, you know, that's whole social distancing thing. Kind of have to keep them separated. So you just get the little snack size bags. That's it tonight, right? Hopefully that's okay. Plus I'm cheap and that's all I could afford, right? It's just the snack size bags. So let's go ahead and bring this guy on, and we'll do a little introduction with him and kind of get to know this guy here. I've been fishing with this guy for about 2 years now. He's kind of taught me everything that I know about carp fishing. So I'm hoping he can kind of teach you a little bit tonight as well. Either way, we've got whatever you want, Beckrist. So if you want potato or corn, completely up to you. All right, we're gonna go funky here for a minute here. We're gonna transition over. Gonna be a weird transition here. Give me just a second. All right. There we go. Come on. This will be a better transition once I can get cameras and more cameras and everything else. So hopefully we can get this thing to work. We just had it working 5 seconds ago. So I love it, right? All right. Well, right now, Kevin, this is Kevin. So Kevin is the state chair of Kansas for the CAG group. What is CAG? CAG is the Carp Anglers Group. Carp Anglers Group is a group of carp fishermen that is spread across the world that fishes for carp strictly, right? So we focus on carp care. We focus on treating carp, you know, kind of the correct way. No, Kevin cannot see us chatting. I have not got that far yet. We are still kind of working on trying to figure that all out. And right now I'm trying to figure out why I can't even get my cam to come on. So, but Kevin, you're on the main stage right now. So, Kevin has been carp fishing for about 10 years now. He's kind of the one that brought me into carp fishing, and he's kind of the one that started my addiction to carp fishing, really. So, yeah, the first time we went carp fishing was not very good. Yeah, give me just a second here, Kevin. I'm going to try to get my cam going. I've got... For some odd reason, now it doesn't want to pick up, even though I've done everything that I did in the beginning. So good times, right? There we go. Pretty much. I see. All right. I think we're on the right path here. Can I get both of us on screen at the same time? Hey, Donuts, how you doing? Can you guys not hear Kevin at all? Uh-oh. All right. For some odd reason, you don't have audio. No, it's not good, is it? You guys can hear me okay though, right? Anybody wants to give a hand and let me know what I'm doing wrong here, that would be great. Okay, you guys can hear me, but you can't hear Kevin. Can you guys see Kevin? Yeah, that's all right, Pleco. We're going to kind of try to figure this out on the way as we go here. So, this is the first time I thought I had it set and good to go, but apparently I can hear him just fine. We have a glitch in the matrix for sure. So does anybody have any idea how I can get audio through Discord here? How about this? Go ahead, Kevin, talk.
Yes, I'm here. Can anybody hear me?
Do we have audio now?
Hello, hello.
For Kevin.
Test. Testing, testing.
We good.
1, 2, 3.
I figured it out.
Oh,
now if I can get
nice.
both of us on screen at the same time, we'll be even better. There we go.
Don't press your luck. Oh,
I know.
Nice.
I did it. All right. Can everybody see me? Do we have audio? Is everything good to go? We can hear him. We can see him. We're good? All right. Awesome. All right. Great. So as I was saying, this is Kevin, right?
That's me.
Right here. All right. Kevin has been carp fishing for over 10 years. I actually met Kevin on a catfishing website. And there was some crazy guy down in the catfishing website talking about carp. And I kind of got a little interested in it and was trying to figure out what was going on with this thing called a carp, right? So I hit him up and he was in my area. So I hit him up and was trying to figure out what's going on with this whole carp deal. And we got to talking back and forth and we went out after some carp. It was, if I remember right, it was beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, it was still cold.
Very, very early. It was very cold, and it was raining. Yes, Catfish One. Catfish One would be the absolute website there. So there is a little carp section on Catfish One, or other fish, I should say, type of section. And we went out. I carp fished with my catfish gear, not knowing anything about what I was doing, with a can of sweet corn, and that was about it.
This was also early in my career too, so my gear wasn't really that fancy either.
Yeah, so this was kind of the beginning of all of our stuff, you know. But we went out, and it was a horrible day. And I don't call Kevin back for another, or I don't talk to Kevin for another year.
A year.
It may have not been exactly a year, but it was pretty close to a year.
Close to it.
So, thank you very much for that, host Dookie. But then we linked back up together, and now we have, what is it, 10 members? 11 members?
Oh, yeah. Just, really local to us, it's 10 or 11, but, in our group, it's now like 17 or 18.
Okay, so we started about, what, a year ago?
Yeah, probably close to a year and a half.
So about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, we started a group, the Kansas City Carp Anglers. You can find the Kansas City Carp Anglers on Instagram. A majority of our stuff is on Instagram there. We are a group dedicated to carp fishing in the Kansas City area. We promote catch and release carp fishing and proper carp care for carp fishing. And this kind of stems from that CAG group that I was talking about earlier, the Carp Anglers group. They really promote catch and release carp angling and the well-being of carp, really. We want to spread the word that carp is a great fish to catch, and they're not as kind of bad as what, the old stipulations are on carp. And we're really trying to spread that word about carp. So that's one thing that you can kind of look forward to if you go and visit Kansas City Carp Angling or the CAG group on Facebook. If you go to Facebook and look up the Carp Angler group or CAG, you'll be able to find some information there. Do you have kind of any input
Yep.
on that, Kevin?
Yeah, just kind of what you touched on. It's the CAG's all about supporting catch and release carp fishing, supporting like building trophy, like the trophy qualities of a carp. Getting that point out there that it's a really underappreciated angling resource pretty much across the country. That there's not too many places you can't find big carp.
Yeah, for sure. They're pretty much in every single waterway out there, whether it be common carp or grass carp. There's some kind of carp pretty much in every waterway anymore. They've been here for what, 200 years now.
Close to it, yeah.
They was brought over as a food fish, and they've always had a bad stipulation of, hey, these fish are bad for lakes, and they destroy waterways, stuff of that nature. But as more and more data comes out, people are realizing, hey, these fish aren't quite as bad as what people think they are. We have some of the best fisheries in the world with some of the biggest carp in them. You're getting ready to take a trip to Dale Hollow here real quick, aren't you?
Yeah, that's I'm excited about that. Hopefully with the whole COVID-19 situation, I'm off for a week or two, so I'm hoping that stands up so I can make this trip and actually get some time in down there at Dell Hollow. Really excited for that.
So Dale Hollow's known for what? Big bass, big
Big
catfish.
smallmouth.
Yeah,
Yep.
one of the best smallmouth lakes in the country, right?
World record came from there, I think.
Yeah, so huge smallmouth bass, huge catfish. Dale Hollow's known for big blue cats as well, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
yet we have 30 and 40, 50 pound carp in there as well, correct?
Right. It's the pretty much the US destination for big mirror carp especially.
So we have carp that's known to, decimate waters, but yet we have trophy class water here. So, that old stigma of how carp are bad for waterways is just kind of old thoughts, and, kind of just needs to be thrown out the window. So hopefully we can kind of change you guys' mind on going out and at least trying to catch some carp tonight. We're going to go over maybe some basic gear for beginners. We have a lot of beginner fishermen in here, Kevin. Um, people that's new to fishing, people that has really never, especially carp fishing. We have a bunch of
Right.
bass fishermen in here. We have a bunch of cat fishermen in here. But we don't have really anybody that goes after carp. You know, we've got at least one person in here that I know has targeted carp before, but I'm kind of the main one that does it anymore on stream now. There is a couple of EU guys, but I'm kind of the main North American guy that does carp fishing for right now.
The ambassador of Twitch.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. Let's not go there. But you know, we're trying to put that good stigma out there for carp, right? By proper care and stuff,
Definitely.
proper care and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it all starts with that, taking care of your fish, whether, any species. If you want it to grow and get to trophy size, you got to take care of them.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter what it is, whether it's crappie, bass, catfish, whatever your species is that you go for. Catch and release is huge. I know a lot of my guys that follow me on Twitch here know that I'm 100% catch and release. They know I like to take care of my catches. They see the mat when I'm carp fishing. They see that type of stuff. I know
Yep.
I've gotten comments in the past. Hey, you're taking care of a trash fish, right? You spend all this
Yeah.
money to take care of the trash fish, but that's because we want to get them fish to grow up bigger and catch them when they're 10, 20 pounds bigger, right? So
Right.
we want to see these fish succeed. Um, all right, so right now, down south, Florida, they're probably already spawned out at this point. here in Kansas where we're at, we're way pre-spawn. We're not even close to pre-spawn yet. North, we're talking about still ice being on the water, right?
Right.
So for all these people that we've got US wide, what is some beginner, spots? Where should we start looking for some carp? If we're gonna say, hey, we have set our minds to go carp fishing, right? We're gonna go out and we're gonna carp fish this weekend. What is some spots that maybe we should start looking at this time of year, pre-spawn to kind of spawnish area for most of the U.S.?
Yeah, I would say right now, I'll just kind of use here as an example. Water's still a little chilly side, but we're starting to see warmer days, more sun, longer days, of course, now that it's spring. But I'm looking for shallower flats closer to some deep water. During the day, they'll probably be moving up in there to feed, start getting, moving around more right now.
Yeah, so for sure. So the shallow flats is the thing that to hit really right now, right? So we're looking at
Right.
you know we've been catching them here lately in what 2-3 foot of water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Two
So
feet. Yeah.
and we've been focusing on the north side of the lake on a couple of our lakes, right? So that's usually where our shallow flats are most of the time. Kansas is kind
Right.
of weird. So we've got a lot of lakes that the north end is our dams. So
Yeah.
that is the deepest part of our lakes a lot of times on the north end there. And so it's kind of reversed a little bit, but really we're looking for shallow flats this time of year, right? Looking for that
Right.
water, that first water to warm up, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that's one thing that, and really, not just particular to carp fishing, but that's what we're looking for any kind of fish right now. We are kind of a couple weeks, maybe a month out of ice out.
Yeah.
So we're looking for that warmer water. Them fish are trying to get up shallow to that warmer water and kind of start to feed a little bit. So that's what we're looking for. I'm going to take a second here. Thank you, Fuzzy, for the raid. We just got a nice little bump in viewers there. Thank you very much. We're going over basic carp fishing tonight. We've got a special guest, Kevin, on, aka the world's okayest angler. So if you want to look
Oh,
for
nice.
Kevin and some of his big fish, if you want to look up the world's okayest angler, he's on Instagram, Facebook. He's on a couple social media sites there.
I try to capture them all, so I'm pretty much on all of them, but
Yeah.
mostly Facebook and Instagram.
If you guys are interested at all whatsoever in some big carp and just some great overall pictures of carp themselves, go ahead and look up Kevin. I'll link his information here in a little bit, and once we get done talking, we'll go over some question and answers for Kevin or myself about carp fishing. Like I said, I know I've seen a lot of interest here lately with the big tournament coming up. So we've kind of went over location, right? We want to this time of year, even for down south, right? Carp in its post spawn, like in Florida, maybe real South Texas, we're looking post spawn for them type of places right now.
Right.
But we're still looking for shallow water, warming water, stuff like that. What are maybe some baits that we're looking at for beginners? I've kind of talked over some of the hair rigs and pack baits and stuff like that, but I don't really want to kind of get into that tonight. That'll be more for an advanced type of thing. I want, basic beginner carp baits that these guys can go out and just kind of get on a couple fish pretty quick like.
Right. Yeah. If you're going to a place, you new guys, there's carp in there. It doesn't get much pressure. You can literally go grab a can of corn off any grocery store shelf, get you a small hook and a lightweight, and go out there and catch carp if you know they're in there and it's not pressured. super easy. Probably 80% of the people carp fishing started that way with a hook and a can of corn. Super basic.
So you said a small weight and a small hook, right? So
Right.
that's
Okay.
another thing that I want to get into is gear. Okay, so a basic beginner corn, corn, worms, carp will hit
Yeah.
worms, right? So worms is another good one.
Absolutely.
So what kind of hooks are we looking at? Are we looking at just any old generic, bait hook, or what kind of hook are we looking at?
When I started with a hair rig, but it was a cheap eagle claw, plain shank bait holder hook. That's what I started with, and it worked just fine. So I'd say starting out any small size six, that general range area would work just fine.
Okay, so you're thinking a size 6 to maybe size what 2 at the biggest? You think maybe?
Two probably biggest is what I would feel comfortable with. But yeah,
Okay.
two down to about a 8 or 10 even. Some people like the real small hooks.
Yeah, I know some of the EU guys will run 10s to 12s, but for
But
these North American carp for stuff that's not pressured at all whatsoever, we can get
probably
away
like
with the 2 to 6 range,
right.
right?
Yeah, I would say even a four would probably be perfect for just corn on the hook.
Yeah. Um so what about rig, right? So as carp anglers, we know hair rigs. Hair rigs is something that every carp angler knows about. But what about somebody that just wants to get started, doesn't want to worry about hair rigs, something like that? What kind of rigs are we looking at?
Well, first, if you're catch and release carp angling, you want to make your rig safe. That should be kind of a number one thing. So your hook and weight, you want to make sure if something were to happen, you hook a carp and it breaks off, you at least want it to be able to shed that weight. That would be your basic starting point. So a simple rig would just be like a Carolina rig, I guess, or a Texas rig. You think plastic worm, a hook, and a sliding weight.
Yeah.
That would be perfect, simple starting rig.
Okay. So yeah, so something with just like a Carolina rig, a weight above a
Right,
swivel with a leader, some kind of short leader with your hook. That way if you get hung up somewhere, it drops the weight, and that carp is not carrying a weight around that weight, right? We want
right.
the best for the fish as possible, and that's a rig that's safe for the fish to where they're not dragging that bait around. Another one that's we don't really like to use the three-way rig because of that safety aspect, right? you know
Right.
you're not shedding that weight if something happens. If you break off the main line, he's dragging that weight around. So we don't really recommend like a three-way rig or something like that to where he could be dragging that weight around. Um, really, that Carolina rig is going to be your basic fundamental rig that we're going to focus on. We
Yeah, I would say for starters, that's a perfect rig. Safe and
Okay,
easy to put together.
yeah, and anybody can go out and kind of do it, right? That's one of the
Right, you
most
can get it
basic.
off any shelf.
Yeah, that's one of the most basic rigs there is out there. That's kind of everybody's starter rig. Um, One thing, if we can go back to bait a little bit, we kind of touched on corn, we kind of touched on worms in this pandemic to where, corn isn't on the shelves, right?
Right.
What is something else maybe that we can try?
You stated worms. That'd be good. You're going to get a lot of, if you have nuisance fish, little catfish, you're going to get tore up to bits with those. And actually, with corn, you might get that a little bit too, anyways. But other things, you could mash up some bread. Bread would be a good one. Geez, meats. You could do like spam, even. A lot of people use spam. Of course, you're going to get, probably catfish and stuff with that too. But man, anything. There's so many things off a shelf and put on a hook and catch a carp on.
Yeah, for sure. So that's, you know, I've seen what people using Slim Jims, Spam,
Right.
you know, kind of all that good stuff, right? We've seen a lot of craziness in the
I would
carp
say if you're
world.
gonna use stuff like that to maybe get yourself a little edge on, singling out the carp is flavor it with some fruit. I don't,
Yes.
to me, it doesn't matter what fruit, strawberry, pineapple, whatever. Pick a fruit, that might help you a little tiny bit to keep the nuisance stuff away.
Yeah, for sure. So carp really, for some odd reason, whatever it is, they really relate to that fruity flavor. So whether it be a fruity flavor as in the jello mix, just kind of mix some jello in with it, or a Kool-Aid packet. If you want to
Kool Aid,
mix
yeah.
Kool-Aid packet in cherry, strawberry, pineapple, something of that nature, just to kind of give it that sweet fruity flavor. Carp really kind of relate to that for some odd reason, whatever that reason is. I don't have
Yeah.
that answer, but you know, they tend to kind of gravitate towards them flavors for sure. So,
Yeah, I mean, they'll gravitate toward fishy flavors, but you better
yeah.
be prepared to catch everything else.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, no, this isn't Kevin Nash here. We're not no
No,
no
not even
Kevin
close.
Nash. But all right, so we've kind of went over, so some beginner rigs, some beginner baits. What about gear, rod and reel, line? What about some of that for
Uh,
beginner type stuff?
like, I'll just go back to my first rigs. It was because I came from catfishing, going out, 7 foot, medium heavy spinning rods, throwing, chunks of shad or whatever. But I just used those and transferred right into carp, uh, 12-pound line, spinning reel, and, a basic rig is really all you need to, start out.
Yeah, so that's what I started out with as well, right? When I first met you, all I had was my
Right.
my catfish gear, my big old ugly stick tiger rods with my cat Bass Pro Cat Max reels, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I used for a while until I stepped up my carp game and got into the carp game. So with carp, you really don't need anything so real fancy, right? Any kind of
Absolutely not.
medium heavy rod. I would probably not go under a size 4,000 spinning reel, a size
Right.
40 spinning reel, depending on which line that you know what kind of line you're looking at, stuff like that. But I would with carp are going to hit and they just run like crazy. That's one thing about carp. They don't stop fighting at all whatsoever. Um, so I would
Yeah, I'd say
recommend a
your
little
best,
bit bigger reel
yeah, good thing to a rod holder to anchor your rod down, and don't forget to loosen that drag a little bit.
for sure. Yeah. Um, so we got a question here, Kevin, about hair rig. Um,
All right.
what kind of line are you looking at for a hair rig?
Well, for mine, and I've always used it, even when I started, this is how I was tying them. I use about a 30 or 40-pound braid, and like that's it. Like 30 to 40-pound braid is what I'm confident in, what I've been using forever, and that's what I go with.
So what's the advantage of having braid over a mono per se on your
It
hair?
when you're tying a hair rig, the action needs kind of a more supple line, I guess you would say. Mono's a little stiff for a traditional hair rig. Now, there's other rigs that they do use mono with, and the rig mechanics work fine with it. But for your simple, basic hair rig, you really want a line that's supple.
Okay. So when that carp is eating, right, they're just sucking that up, right? So if
Right.
you get, they're kind of sucking it up and then blowing out all the junk, right? So when they're feeding, they're face down. They got their snout in the mud or the muck or whatever. They're pulling out the stuff that they consider food, sucking it out and blowing it back out, all the rocks and stuff like that. So the purpose of a hair rig is to kind of have that full hook exposed, right? And for it
Right.
to kind of set itself in the bottom of that lip. 9 times out of 10, that hook's going to be set right in the bottom of the lip for that hair rig. And what helps kind of get that hook up in its mouth is that supple line, being able to kind of maneuver with the way that carp is sucking up that hook, correct?
Right. Yeah, you have, very little weight on your, hair behind the hook. So it's very easy for that carp to pull that hook and the bait up in its mouth with that real supple line. And like you said, as soon as they blow that out, that hook, in theory, turns, catches the bottom lip on the way out, and you get your big run.
Yeah. And with mono, especially with a thicker mono, that can kind of hinder the way that hook turns in that mouth and
Yeah,
really sets
absolutely.
in. So
Yeah.
you want that supple line of that braid. So it just kind of helps drive that in. We kind of got another question here. What about cantaloupe?
Cantaloupe, hey, I've never used it, but shoot, throw it on a hook, throw it on a hair, and send it.
Carp and the bait, you know, we experiment a lot with bait, right? So we've got baits that we use that include oatmeal. We've got baits that include oh, what else, Kevin? Oatmeal, panko,
Oh gosh, grits,
soybean, grits.
soybean meal, bread, uh, uh, anything you could really, oh shoot, chicken feed, sweet feed. There's so many things.
I'm gonna throw another one in there for you. We have somebody in chat right now that goes
Okay,
by Fishing Hunting Gaming Chick. Okay,
okay,
she's mainly a bass fisher lady. Okay, she likes to go catch anywhere from, you know, 10-inch bass all the way up to 6-pound bass. She will also fish for catfish every once in a while. Well, what do you think her catfish bait of choice is?
I have no idea.
Chicken liver, right?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Of
Chicken liver.
course, everybody's
That,
is, right?
yep, that's right. Her bait of choice is chicken liver. Well, here recently she was fishing for catfish, had a bunch of chicken liver out, but one thing that she does is she loves to throw a whole container of chicken liver out and kind of bait the area, right?
Okay.
So she will get this chicken liver going in and in and in and in. Well, she hooked into something the other day and got it up to the bank, and it happened to be probably maybe a 8 to 10 pound grass carp.
Nice.
So just kind of wanted to throw it out there. Our new
Oh
stuff
yeah.
may be chicken liver
Hey,
that we may be using
I
here real soon.
I I had a down year on grass carp last year, so I might have a chicken liver out then. Probably not, but
Yeah, no. It was just, yeah, I tried kind of explaining to her carp will feed on stuff that you make them kind of think is food, right? So if we keep pumping
yeah.
in corn, they're going to get used to that corn as a food source. If we
And
keep pumping in peas or whatever it is, they'll kind of get used to it.
exactly, that's why people catch them on lures. People catch them on the shad side. They catch them on everything because a carp eats. They don't just key on one thing. We're just doing the things we can do to limit those and single them out.
Yeah, yeah, because carp will feed on crawdads and minnows and pretty much anything that's natural in their habitat. Carp are almost kind of like catfish in a sense. They're gonna
Oh yeah,
feed on whatever's there, right?
exactly.
So, um, so we've kind of went over, a couple of things. A good medium heavy rod with a size 4,000 reel. Uh, what about mainline? We didn't really touch on mainline at all. W-
I personally like mono. I run a 12-pound mono. That's pretty much what I've been running for forever. Is 12-pound mono. I think it's good. A good compromise between strength, abrasion, and you still bomb your casts out there. So that's where I like to sit with line. Is about a 12, 15-pound mono is okay too, but I don't like anything much heavier. And a 12-pound line. I mean, I've caught high 20 grass carp, 30-pound grass carp on 12-pound line, so it's no problem.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, 10 to 15 pound range. 10 kind of probably being your lowest. You don't with as hard as these carp fight, you don't really want to get too much lower than a 10 probably, just because you're
Right,
worried
if
about
you're
that break off.
right, if you know there's some 15, 20-pound carp in your waters, you probably don't want to go much lower than 10.
Yeah. So we got a question about what kind of reels that I use. A lot of reels that carp fishermen use once you kind of get into the carp game is bait runner reels. So that's the main kind of reel that we use. I actually use a specific carp reel. It's an NGT uh, carp reel. It's a bait runner reel. With a carp, with the way they feed, they hit, and once that hook kind of gets stuck in their face, they want to bolt. They get scared, they get spooked super quick, and they just bolt off. So what that usually they are hooked. Once they suck that hook up and it gets into the bottom of their lip, what happens is that weight that's kind of holding that line down kind of pierces, makes that hook pierce that lip, and then they just bolt. So what that bait runner allows that to do is kind of run off and not pull that hook, because carp have super soft mouths, right? So if you've got them rods locked down, what will happen is a lot of times is them small hooks will get just pulled out of that fish's mouth. So with that bait runner, it allows that fish to run and me to kind of lift up on that rod and play that fish without pulling that hook out, because we don't want to just do a bass hook set, a Bill Dance bass hook set on a carp because of how soft their mouths are, and you're going to pull that hook out. So, and Kevin uses the same thing. You used what, Okuma Avengers forever?
Yeah, I did. I started out with regular spinning gear, but once I transitioned to more the advanced carp gear, I did go to the Akuma Bait Runners Avengers series. Great reels, loved them, and I recently switched to the Daiwa Bite and Runs. Same thing, bite runner reels, just because I wanted a matching set, and that's another issue with carp anglers.
Yeah. So,
OCD.
we want to kind of
But
get
yeah,
everything matching and looking pretty,
yeah,
right? For the
yeah.
Instagram photos, right?
That comes, years after your carp addiction. You'll
Yeah.
have to OCD all your gear. But
And
no,
it
bike runners is really, I mean, it's the biggest thing for carp fishing. Makes it so much easier. When you get those blazing runs, you don't have to fiddle with your front drag trying to get it set to a fighting drag. You can just flip the switch and you're ready to go.
so that's a good point to kind of hit on, right? So these guys that don't have bait runner reels, how can they set up their reel to maybe, combat that? Because carp, 9 times out of 10, a carp is not going to just slowly take off, right?
No,
They're going to hit that rod and they're just going to blast out. It's probably going to
right.
be one of the hardest hits that most of these guys have ever felt before, whether it's bass or catfish or whatever. A lot of these guys don't realize how hard that carp is actually going to bolt off once they get hooked. So, what's something they
Right.
can do with just their regular equipment, not a bait runner?
Yeah, you're just gonna have to, your personal reel. You're gonna have to, once you make your cast, get your bait out there, get your rod set in the holder. You're gonna have to remember to back off that drag. Pull that out, make sure it's will release easily, because yeah, you're gonna get a a run that you've probably never seen before. And,
Yeah.
you're just going to have to work with your reel. Remember when you pick it up to set that hook, or not set the hook, but lift into the fish. You don't want to set the hook. But, you're lifting that rod, you better tighten your drag up a little, or, you're going to have an explosion of line that way too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just knowing your reel, have to adjust on the fly, basically.
Yeah. So for a beginner, that's going to be kind of hard. What I would recommend really for a beginner that's kind of carp fishing and you don't have a bait runner reel, most of the beginners are probably going to be starting off with a spinning reel. I would kind of lighten that drag up a little bit. So your top knob on the top of your spinning reel, back that drag off a little bit, and that way you can, pull when you pull on that line, you want it to easily move. That way, when that carp goes to take off, he's not going to break your line immediately if you've got that rod locked down tight, or
And
he's
your
not
rod
going to,
doesn't follow
yeah, or your rod's not going to pull in. Uh, yeah, we don't recommend using dock demons with 6 pound test line.
No.
Miss Chicken Liver. That's what she caught uh, that grass carp on, was a dock demon with 6 pound test.
Hey, that's a fun fight, I bet, though.
Yeah, it was really fun. um, so let's see, what else do we have to kind of touch on here? We've kind of touched on the gear, the bait, the location. Is there anything else you can kind of think of that maybe these guys should know for beginner carp fishing right off the bat?
Oh, thinking back when I first started, it's all the stud, just, tying your rigs right, making sure your knots are good, make everything good, because even a little 6 pound carp's going to test your gear like you probably haven't felt before if you haven't fished for carp. So just, get your rigs right, set your poles up right, loosen that drag, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So I know you've done a little bit of carp fishing for in the rivers, right? Compared to lakes, a little
Oh,
bit of river
yeah,
fishing.
just a touch, like maybe twice.
Could you maybe, is there any kind of tips that you would go over river versus lake type of carp?
Uh, I use pretty much the same stuff. You probably, depending on the river where you're at, your water flow rates and stuff, you might have to up your weights. But, you just adjust. Basically, I use the same tactics, and I would use the same tactics that I would use in my lakes in a river, but, I would adjust to water flow, finding calmer water to, fish out of, get out of the main currents, and, upping your weight, just adjusting to your water, basically.
Yeah, so we're looking for eddies, stuff like
Right.
that, right? Uh, Something they just got brought up in chat: night crawlers. Night crawlers would probably be really good in rivers because night crawlers are abundant in rivers. So your corn would work in rivers. Your pack baits, stuff of that nature, would definitely work in river systems. But worms would probably be something that's very good in a river system. We're looking for eddies. We're looking for behind wing dikes and dams. That slower moving water, kind of out of the current stuff. Uh, that's something that we would definitely look for in a river, probably, right?
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah, I would
backwaters.
still be looking for, features that I would look for in a lake. If I just find some calmer, shallower water out of the, main deeper channel, I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah, for sure. Now that you touched on that, uh, what are some features that you are looking for in a lake to find carp? What are some stuff that you're kind of focusing on, saying, "Hey, carp might be here"?
You know, I think it's always going to be like that area where you have that transition where it's some deep water up into some shallow water, you know, play it by season, the cooler it is, they might be stacked up closer to that deeper water. as it warms up, get back into the shallows. And also when it starts getting really hot, they're going to move back towards that deeper water. So I like to find any kind of change I can find in the bottom, depth wise. Of course, fish are going to be around structures, so it's hard to fish, next to a lot of snags. You got to play
Yeah.
your fish a little better. But as far as features, I'm looking for transition stuff.
So you're looking for structure, some cover
Oh,
situations, but you're looking for that structure, that difference in elevation in the bottom of the lake, right? So you're looking
right,
from something that maybe go from 2 foot down to 10 foot pretty quick. Like you're looking for that flat next to the hole, maybe.
right,
Uh, we
right.
kind
And
of
any instant you could find, like, say I got some structure over here, I got a main lake part over here. If there's any kind of like travel area, like a choke point or something, fish have got to move in and through there. That's a good place to set up too.
yeah, right? So we're looking for them transition changes, any kind of points. So your points will start off shallow and head out to deeper water. So points are a really good spot. We touched on kind of points and mouth of coves and stuff like that last week. So we're really looking for those type of spots to where I kind of touched on it last week. That bait will move up onto those points in the shallow water, and it gives them fish that access to deep water where they feel comfortable. Fish feel comfortable in deeper water. They will move super shallow, but their comfort zone is that deep water, right? So
Right.
anything that can get you to that kind of location is what we're looking for.
Yeah. I'll throw in there too, for a lot of your viewers that don't fish for carp but fish for something else, they can use their information that they know for their species. It's going to work the same for carp. If your species is in an area, that's because there's food there, there's bait there, there's other
Yeah,
things. So you can use all that information and apply it to carp fishing.
for sure, 100%. Um, What a all right. We did have one question here. I know this is a big one for you. You absolutely love this.
Okay,
Boilies.
here we go. Okay, yeah.
Boilies. We had a
I
question about boilies. So, do you care? Go ahead and go over what is a boilie a little bit and explain your take on boilies. Let's hear
Okay.
your takes on
It's a
take on
great take.
boilies.
It's a great take. But okay, a boilie, is generated over in Europe. It's the big thing over there. It's a pre-made, basically a little ball bait. You know, the they make them a million different flavors, fruity, fishy, whatever. It can be made like a pop up or a bottom bait. This is all kind of technical stuff, but basically it's a pre-made bait that you can put on a hair rig. And I think my take on them is here in the US, in general, carp are super unpressured and it's just not necessary. Over in Europe, it's a big thing. They're basically designed for the lakes and the fish over there because the fish you get over it, we want to start talking about how carp fishing is over in Europe, the UK, whatnot. It's like super huge business. Lakes are built around the carp. They're fed these boilies, so to them over there, it's a food source. Over here, if you want to go dump 5,000 pounds in your lake, sure the carp are going to start eating them. For new people and whatnot, don't even start thinking about boilies yet. Just go out there with some simple baits and you will catch carp.
Yeah. Yeah, boilies, it's something that will touch on probably again in our more advanced carp session because I definitely want to
Yeah,
have you back on and go over a more advanced carp session for people that really want to touch deeper on, you know, specifically targeting carp, right? So
right.
we'll go over boilies and hair rigs. We'll show you how we'll have some good things up to show you how to tie a hair rig and some other carp rigs at that time. But yeah, for right now, boilies, don't waste your
I
money
see.
on boilies for American carp.
Just real quick on that. A lot of the I've seen it on message boards and Facebook groups and stuff. People get right into the carp game, and people feed them this. Oh, use boilies, and they buy into it, and they go out and use them, and they don't have success, and then they just get frustrated with it when you can just go out there with some super simple, super cheap baits and catch loads of carp to get your feed into it, and then you can decide if you want to pursue that route. But if
Exactly.
you're just starting off, don't even like worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're all you're gonna do is just get discouraged, really, right?
Exactly.
You know, we've had somebody in our group that swears by boilies. They're a big fish bait to them, right? You know,
Yeah.
they swore by the bigger fish are gonna hit the big boilies. You
And
know,
once you get into it, if that's your confidence, then of course that's what
yeah,
you should fish with. But
yeah.
build your confidence on easy stuff first.
Well, that's just like any fish, right? So
Exactly.
you're always gonna fall back to your confidence bait, whether it's bass fishing, cat fishing, whatever fishing it may be. You're gonna have that confidence bait that you're always gonna fall back on. So whether it be a Zoom trick worm, for example, like somebody in chat
Soft
loves to
plastics.
use soft plastics,
Soft plastics always win.
So there you go. Kevin not only fishes for carp, he does a little bit of bass fishing on the side, and he hooks into some monster catfish as well. But he doesn't like to admit
I'll
that one.
tell you that the best secret to catfishing is, catfishing is carp fishing.
For channel cats anyway,
Yeah, for
right?
channel cats. I've
Well,
caught bigger channels catching fishing for carp than ever.
we have seen one. What was it? A 50-pound flathead caught off of a
Oh
boilie.
yeah, 50-pound flathead came on a boilie, so there you
Yeah.
go.
So it does happen from time to time, but that's we
Yeah,
won't get into that. That's a
don't
whole
yeah,
different story for a different day, right?
yeah.
So, well, Kevin, I think we've kind of touched on a little bit of everything that I wanted to touch on. We went over basic gear, basic rigs, basic just everything for getting these guys out and going over some carp fish and maybe
Right.
catching a carp here or there. So,
Yeah.
you guys, if you're interested, don't hesitate to message me, go into my Discord, and post questions up about carp fishing. Kevin is now. I've kind of got him into the Discord. I'm still trying to get him to maybe stream. We'll see. We're
Yeah, I
working
need
on
to
it,
get on that.
but I'm
Definitely.
hoping that we can bring him in. I've kind of introduced him to the live well and to maybe looking at some of you guys and trying to kind of introduce him to all this. So this is kind of new, all new for him, and he'll be there to help out if you have any questions. I'm sure he'll see them in my Discord and probably be more than happy to answer any kind of questions you guys have regarding carp. So,
Absolutely.
is
Yeah,
there
I will
any?
say. Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you guys just wanting to get into it. Look at what you got now. Probably 90% of that can be converted to fishing for carp tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Don't let the I need this, I need that. Just go out there and give it a shot. It'll all start coming together.
Yeah, don't look at my stream and think you got to go have alarms and rod pods and all this fancy gear. I started out doing it with a rod holder and some catfish rods. So you guys can go do it with your bass gear, really, your heavier bass gear. Uh, we
Right.
just we just had a episode last night, Full Send Wednesday by Wolfram Custom Rods. He's in chat right now. He builds custom rods, and he went over a whole deal about rods and kind of what their use certain ultralight is used for this, that type of stuff, the ratings on them. We went over that quite a bit. Um, he's actually asking about the rods right now. Do you care to go over the rods a little bit? So maybe, how the test curves are versus our
Yeah,
our American rods, maybe.
everything, you find from there, the carp specific rods are going to have a test curve on them. And it's pretty much like a lure rating you would find on any U.S. rod. The lower the test curve, the lighter or lighter action it'll be. Heavier the test curve is, the opposite. It's going to be a heavier, stouter rod. So you can look at a carp rod, see the test curve, and kind of get a general idea how heavy it is. I think it starts at 1 and goes
Yeah.
all the way up to like 5.5. So, 1's going to be your super lightweight, small fish rod, all up to your 5.5, which they're using to, spawn huge balls of bait and chum out with.
Yeah, so right, the lower your number, so your ones that you
Right,
was talking about, that's going to be kind of like your ultralight rods. So that will be for mainly your probably your smaller carp. Like
right.
over in Europe, there's things called crucian carps or F1s, which are your super small carp. So them are for basically what we would call over here in America baby carp, right?
Yeah.
That would be for your baby carp. That would be kind of like your ultralight, your one test curve. As you advance, so I'm running, what is it, 2.5 test curve for mine. I would kind of equate that to a medium and heavy on the rod to over here. And then your 3.0 and kind of up would be more towards your heavy of your rods, right?
Yeah, my rods, and I have been running these, since I switched to the 12 footers, is the 3.0 test curve. And yeah, I'd say they're probably more on the the heavier medium heavy side. I don't know if they're a super heavy because, you can still go up quite a bit. So I'd say
Yeah.
they're about a high medium heavy, I guess.
Okay. And as far as action goes, I've never really seen anything as far as action. So you've got your fast, your slow actions. We don't really see that in the carp world, right? It's just basically test curve as far as
Right.
that's concerned.
Right. Because most of their rods, being so long, they have a softer tip on them. All the test curves, because they're going to be playing the fish. Most people are by themselves, So you
Yeah.
need, when you got that rod close trying to net a fish, it's almost straight up and down. So you want a lot of give in that tip.
Yeah.
So all of them are going to be a real sensitive tip.
So that's something different, right? So we went over that last night. Uh, Wolfram, the guy that makes these custom rods, we had a rod, a pretty expensive special rod break in the community here, and it was
Okay.
because of the way the rod was handled. And there's a diagram that he showed last night. Once you get to that 90-degree angle, that's a danger zone for most rods. But with us using the 12-pound or the 12-foot rods, right, and trying to bring that fish in, we've almost got to have it at a 90-degree angle. Now, where we can get away with that is the little bit softer tip that we have,
Right.
and we always have that line below the butt of the rod, right? So we're
Right.
always got extra line. So really, there's no pressure on that rod bending at all. So we're basically dragging that fish in kind of with that tip. Even though it's at a 90-degree angle, there's no pressure being put on that rod until they bolt. But that's
Right.
when our drag comes into play and it's able to pull that line without putting a major strain on that rod, right?
Yep. Yeah. Because the most strain on your rod is going to come when you're landing on it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's one thing that we have to be careful of, it is definitely watching our drag with carp, because carp will bolt when they see that net. They get close to that net, and they will bolt like crazy, and they will absolutely destroy a rod and a reel if you don't have everything set up correctly, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, so that test curve, it's really a UK thing. We don't really, and from everything that I've seen, I don't know, Kevin, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. Everything that I've seen is there's really no real correlation between the UK test curve to our kind of rating for rods, right?
No, you can't say, oh, a 3 pound test curve is equal to a 4 ounce lure or 5 ounce. You just can't do it. It's two separate systems built on a total different system. So
Yeah. So if
you're
anybody is getting into a test curve type of rod, though, right? So I have 2.5 test curve, and I'm throwing 2 ounce weights with a pack bait around that weight that's probably what, another 3 ounces, 4 ounces maybe. So I'm throwing 5 to 6 ounces of weight on a 2.5 test curve rod. I wouldn't want to go underneath that 2.5 because I feel that that weight that I'm throwing out there is pushing it pretty close for my 2.5 test curve rod. So that's something that you really want to kind of keep an eye on once you start getting into more advanced carp fishing. If you're throwing what's called a pack bait, which is kind of a bait that breaks down to bring in the fish, you want to really kind of start leaning more towards those heavier rods to throw the weight of that stuff out, right?
right. Absolutely.
So that's something that if you decide to get into those longer, those more advanced carp fishing, to really look for. And Wolfram, if I was to probably have you build me a rod on American terms, I'm probably going to have you build me a 10-foot medium heavy, probably a faster action rod would probably be where I would be one to be at for a carp rod, if that answers your question at all. Do we have any more questions in chat for Kevin or myself? Is there anybody that has anything? We're going to kind of use this time here as question and answer time. So we've kind of pretty much went over everything that I wanted to go over tonight for beginners type stuff. Again, we will do this more and go over specific rigs and pack baits. What is a pack bait? How to kind of do a pack bait. Maybe go over a basic recipe for a pack bait. We'll go over that again here shortly. But if you guys have questions right now for me or Kevin, go ahead and post it up in chat. I would appreciate it. I'm going to kind of flood your information out there. Kevin, the world's okayest angler. Just I'll post something in let's see here. We'll see if I can crash my whole program here.
Yeah.
There you go. The world's okayest angler. Look him up on Instagram. Look him up on Facebook. He's got a Facebook page as well. Again, if you guys are interested in any kind of carp fishing at all, CAG is the place to be. Do you have that information on the actual Facebook site there? The CAG, what is it? Is it just CAG?
Oh yeah. They can just go to, I think it's carpanglersgroup.com.
carpanglersgroup.com. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Easy. I
So
just looked it up to make it super easy for you guys. If you type in "world's okayest angler" in Google, the first 3 links are all me. So there you
there
go.
you go. All right. And is it the, or is it just world's okay?
No, world's okayest angler.
Okay. No the. So if you
No
just
the.
if you type that into Google, it'll come up to his page there. If you
Yep.
guys want to see some
Yep.
great carp angling, he's the guy to kind of look for American carp fishing, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
In the
Um,
Kansas City metro area.
yeah, there we go. um, so we've got a question for you here. What do you look for at a new lake when finding carp? So a place that maybe you've never been to, but you know it has carp because pretty much everywhere has carp. What are you looking
Yeah.
for in that lake?
Shoot, if I'm scouting out a new lake, I'm going to watch it. I'm just going to look at it for a while and look and see if I see a sign, see a carp breach, see some bubbles in the margins, see a tail fin. That's I think the first part anybody should do on any water is watch it, see what I'm can see, and then I'll kind of go from there. If I'm seeing some activity in a place, well, I know there's probably something in that area, whether it be a flat or some deeper water or whatever. The fish are there, so I'm gonna look for those signs first. And after that, if I'm not seeing any signs of fish, I'm gonna look for my structure. I'm gonna look for maybe a point to get out on, just stuff like that. But I'd say start with watching your water.
And that, we kind of touched on that a couple episodes over the last couple episodes is getting to know your water, right? What fish are in your water? That's a big thing, right? Just getting to know your body of water, whether it's a lake, a pond, a river, whatever it is, getting to know it. So I've showed people the Navionics website to show them, looking for points and holes and stuff like that. Another thing to do is go out and just sit at your lake before you even fish, right? And I've
Yep.
done this many times, not for carp, but I've done it for catfish. I've done it for bass, crappie, whatever. I will go out and not even fish the lake. I will just go out there and look around, right? So I find a new body of water on Google Maps or Google Earth, whatever it may be. I'm going out to that lake and looking and seeing what is happening out of that lake. Is there shad in this area busting that the bass are maybe on, right? For carp, are these carp in this particular cove, are they jumping out of the water? Are they, like you said, breaching? Are they tailing the water, where you can see the tails swimming through? Whatever it may be, is there some rocks over here? Is there some trees over here? Whatever it may be, I'm out at that lake paying attention to everything going on. And I think that's great advice, man. Just going out
Oh
there and
yeah,
paying attention for
that's
sure.
really the first step. Just look and the fish will show you where they're at.
For sure, 100%. The key thing about carp is sometimes if they're not in that area, they're not going to, a lot of times they won't just come there and feed. You may pick off one or two, but carp like to school up quite a bit, right? So usually once you kind of catch one carp, you're going to catch many carp in that particular area because something's drawn them to that area. They
Right.
will run in a big school at times, and you can have just a heyday. A lot of times, it may take you one or two trips out there to kind of figure out, okay, where are these fish at, to get set up on. So don't get frustrated if you go out and you don't get any bites or you don't get anything really that first time or even the second time you go out. It may take you a couple times to kind of locate those fish, especially from the bank, because majority of us in here are going to be from the bank. So we've got to move around. You got to be able to go through and okay, pick spots here and there and decide where you want to go.
Yeah,
Hopefully
definitely.
that kind of answers your question there, J Hook. So we've got J Hook in here. He's a major bass fisherman. He does a lot of kayak bass fishing, uh, and a lot of tournament fishing as well. And he was asking about kind of what you're looking for in carp there.
Yeah,
So
play the wind too. I like that a lot too. If I'm going blind somewhere and I really don't know, I'm gonna look at that wind too. It's just like your bass fishing. If the wind's pushing on that bank, the bait's there, food's there. That's a good place to start.
yeah, exactly. You know, that wind blows all that algae up there. It'll blow all the whatever, all that plankton and everything like that, which brings in your shad and your minnows, stuff like that. All your fish is going to follow that. So if you get a good
Right.
wind blowing on a bank consistently for over a few days, that really helps kind of congregate those fish in that one direction. So if you got that wind blown bank, that's a great place to start. You go through the Kansas, uh, what is it? The fishing reports, the Kansas fishing reports.
Oh yeah,
Everything,
they all say
everything on there tells you
wind
what
blown points,
wind blown banks.
wind blown points. Yeah.
Yeah, every single one of them. It doesn't matter what it's for. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what lake it is. Wind blown banks or wind blown points. They're
Yeah.
gonna tell you to go there.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Yeah, setting up on there. And to be honest, it's a generic answer that they give, but it's actually a pretty decent generic answer that
It
they give.
works. Yeah. I
So
mean, you can apply it to about everything.
for sure. All right, you guys. Is there any other questions out there? Anything over gear? Any kind of baits that you guys want to talk about? Anything of that nature? Go ahead and throw them up now. Um, when I started this thing, I'm kind of the one to keep it around. I said 30 minutes, but every episode has been over an hour now. So we're kind of playing it as it goes.
Yeah,
We're,
it went by fast,
it
actually.
did go by fast. So this has been a really good episode. I really appreciate you coming on and kind of giving these guys some info about basic beginner carp fishing. Uh,
It's been a good time.
so I look forward to kind of doing this some more. I'm going to be doing more of these, not just on carp. I'm going to focus on catfish and bass and a little bit of everything. So that's kind of the plan of this whole thing. But it doesn't look like we have any other questions, so I'm gonna kind of let you go, Kevin, if you don't have anything else to kind of go over. I think I'm gonna
No,
let you go, and I really appreciate you stopping by and kind of going over everything, man.
yeah, no problem. I had a good time on here. I appreciate you having me on here, and anybody out there, just get out there and go after it. You'll find your success.
Yep, awesome. Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of kick you off of here, and I'm gonna do kind of my closing stuff, and we will talk to you later, and
All right, man. I
we'll
hope
get back
they
after
have
it.
good reports from Dale Hollow.
Oh yeah, good luck out there, man. I hope you guys have
All
a
right,
lot of fun and
take care, brother.
throw up a bunch of pictures.
Will do.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
All right, you guys. Give me just a second to kind of get everything situated here, and we will get back to going. I got to find a little bit easier, better transition here. There we go. There we go. All right. Well, you guys, I hope you guys had a good time tonight. I really appreciate everybody stopping by. Beckrist, if you're still in here, thank you for that sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the new subs, the new follows. I really appreciate everybody stopping by and kind of hanging out uh, with me going over carp tonight. Like I said, I've had a bunch of questions, and this guy here, he really knows his carp stuff really well. He's kind of the one that taught me how to go after carp and kind of what to do with carp. So I kind of wanted to bring him on and go over everything with you guys. I really hope you guys learned something tonight and are able to take this information out on basic carp fishing and just go have some fun with carp. Carp are a lot of fun to catch, whether you're catching them for fun or even if you're going to catch them and keep them for bait. I know Fuzzy likes to keep some for bait for catfish, and they make a great catfish bait. So even if you're going out to do that, go out and enjoy some carp fishing. They're a lot of fun. They fight super, super hard. And I think you guys will just have a blast with them. So if you guys don't have anything else for me, again, I thank you very, very much for the subs. Wolfram, thank you very much for the sub. I really appreciate everything you guys have done tonight, hanging out, having a good time, hopefully. So I'm gonna get off of here, and yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. Take care, you guys, and have a good night.